question. We'll start up front.
Hey, Hunter Mandela, Bleacher Report. So yesterday, Terrence McGee on LSU was praising his freshman running back coming in. You have Nick Chubb and Sony Michel coming in. What are your expectations of them?
Right now, our expectations that we have from freshmen, namely those running backs, is just to learn the system and to be ready whatever may happen during the season. This last year we had a lot of injuries, and we realized that freshmen have to be ready to play and step up. And so that's really what we've been asking them to do. We have a deep backfield right now with Todd, Keith Marshall is back, and Brendan Douglas that a lot of people forget about. And so when they are needed, we want them to be ready and to be explosive.
In the very back.
Ben Bolton, WRBL in Columbus. The past 3 days, we've seen a couple of defensive backs name check you as the best wide receiver they go up against. Why do you think they say that? What is it about your game that makes them say that?
Well, first off, that's an honor, playing in this league and being able to go up against that talent every day. It's an honor to be able to hear that. But, it's a testament to the way that we practice at Georgia and the way that Coach Ball wants our receivers to play, to be ready for any situation, to be fundamentally sound. No matter the talent level, you have to be preparing for the best opponent that you're ever going to play.
Right here.
Hey, Chris, Brian Penner, WAKA Montgomery. What does Hudson bring to the table at quarterback and for Murray? How are they different as QBs, and just what are your expectations for him this year?
I said this earlier, and Erin might be mad at me, but Hudson's taller. Hudson has a lot of touch on his ball. Erin has a lot of zip. And they're both extremely accurate guys. Hudson is the type of quarterback that I'll anticipate, and he'll throw a receiver before he's open, and he'll get the receiver open. And Hudson's done a great job of leading the team this offseason. He's been a tremendous field general, and the guys are behind him.
Hi, Chris. Cassidy Hill, WCJB in Gainesville. You're about to get a lot busier, so when can we expect a Chris Conley Star Wars Episode 2 film?
It'll be a while, but we're working on another project right now, and the fact that football season is starting, we won't be shooting it yet, but it's not Star Wars related, but we will be doing some other films.
Is that something that's just a fan hobby thing, or do you have a real interest in Star Wars and making films?
Star Wars is a fan hobby, but film is actually something that I might be pursuing. I'm a journalism major, and doing some mass media things, I might want to get into film.
Carl Prather, WAFF in Huntsville. Chris, just talk about Jeremy Pruitt and what he's bringing to the table. Obviously, your impressions with him, working with him in the spring.
I have great impressions automatically. Coach Pruitt has done a great job of transforming that defense in a short amount of time. I say this, and I mean it. The secondary already looks light years different than it did just months ago, and the fact that Coach Pruitt can come in and teach those fundamentals and have people react in such a way that they buy into it speaks volumes about who he is as a coach and as a leader. And I expect the defense to do great things this year. They've really bought into the system, and I think the whole team has bought into doing things the Georgia way.
Sandy Hooper, USA Today Sports. What do you think makes the SEC so special?
I think that the SEC is special just because of the diversity that we have, in players, the diversity that we have in institutions, and the fact that these players will go out on a Saturday night or go out on a Friday, depending on what sport, and they'll be all-stars. There'll be people who will go out and do something that's great and magnificent, and people from around the country will say, wow, these people going to these southeastern schools are great at this, but then you go and see them during the week, and they're fantastic students. They do things and they delve into stuff other than sports, and that they're successful when they leave these universities. I think that's what makes the SEC so special, is that you have people who are superstars one day and superstars in a different field another.
Right here, up front.
What did you think of Aaron Murray on The Bachelor? Todd Gurley was saying he posted a picture and he called him soft.
Well, Erin and Josh have handled that extremely well. They've represented Georgia greatly. I'm not a huge Bachelor person, but I have seen him on there, and I don't know if I want to comment on it. But he's doing a great job. Josh knows I love him, but that's interesting to me that he's on The Bachelorette. So he's doing a good job, though.
Very back.
Chris, you got to serve on the NCAA's Student Athlete Advisory Committee. You have that's a unique opportunity a lot of student athletes don't get. What was one of the biggest pieces of legislation that you guys talked about that you think needs to be changed?
Well, over the past 2 years, we've talked about tons of legislation and the things that are really going on right now in terms of autonomy and what schools may be doing, the restructuring of the NCAA we've been talking about. We've been dealing with and working on a lot of these things for the past 2 years and even longer than that. And so I've been able to be in the room and have my hands on some things that will affect all student athletes across the country in Division I, and that's been such an honor and a privilege. And it's difficult because there's so many people in one room with varying opinions that you have to find common ground and in order to make things move forward, and that's what can make the process seem lethargic. But I think it's the efforts of those student athletes and the administrators to make change and to do things that will benefit the student athlete that makes it special.
Right here in front.
Dane Young, WRBL. You're full season removed from the SEC championship game against Alabama, where you caught the ball 4 yards away from going to a national championship. How often do you think about that? Is that still fuel for Georgia?
I don't think about it very often. I like to say in football you have no time to sulk. Because there's another opponent the next week, and I think that's really what happened. I spent that night thinking about that, and I spent the whole off season looking at my game in that area, looking at my game in the fourth quarter during 1 minute, my conditioning, and just my mental strength during that part of the season. And I think that has helped me this past year.
Very back.
What's your best impression of an angry Mark Richt?
An angry Mark Richt is still a soft-spoken Mark Richt. Let me just say that. He has a way with his words to the point where he doesn't have to raise his voice to get his point across, and guys respect that. And I think that it's an effective way to coach rather than getting in someone's face and dog cussing them. Just saying what needs to be said and realizing that they need to take care of it.
Dave Keelan, Fox 61 Chattanooga. You've played in some pretty rough environments in the SEC. Last year, you guys went to Clemson and played in Death Valley. What was that experience like, and how does that compare to an SEC stadium?
Clemson has an atmosphere that rivals that of SEC atmospheres. They're loud. Their fans are engaged. They play music. Their players are excited, and it's electric. And there was a lot of energy in that stadium, and they did a great job of preparing the fans just to be ready for that game. Just because of the fact that Georgia was coming to town, it seemed like everyone in that part of South Carolina was there, whether in or out of the stadium.
Patrick Claiborne, WIAT Birmingham. Chris, did you cast yourself as a Sith Lord because the dark side is just cooler? And also, what position would he play if your roles were reversed playing football?
The reason I casted myself as that character is because I knew how I wanted him to be played. I wanted him to be a strong character, and because if he wasn't, the whole thing wouldn't have worked. So that's the reason I decided to do that. And if he was playing, I think it would be a hard-hitting safety. He might get a couple of flags. He might get thrown out of a couple games, but his heart's in it.
Chris, let's go back to the stadiums for a second. Do you ever wish that you could play in Gainesville, or the Gators could come to Athens?
I've thought about that over time, and I think that the fact that the Georgia-Florida game is in Jacksonville, that makes that stadium iconic. But, it would have been cool to have them at our house or be in their house one time. But I do like the idea of it being a mid-season bowl game. So I don't think that should change. It makes it neutral. It makes it completely neutral. When you walk into a stadium and it's split down the middle with both sides, it really challenges the fans to see who's going to be louder because both teams have just as many people there.
Front row, right here.
Who do you compare your directing style with movies to? Who did you grow up, aspiring to and really studying?
I've watched tons of films, and just because of this last film, I was really trying to emulate some of the things that George Lucas had done, obviously in the Star Wars aspect. But then I also want to throw in a little Michael Bay, the way that he uses lens flares and camera angles. But I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan as well, and the way that he can put gritty realism into his films and really get some gut reactions out of people while they watch his films, and not just vocal reactions where people say ooh, but where someone says ooh with their gut.
So did you guys coordinate the bow ties today? How did that work out?
We did. I will personally take responsibility for all the Georgia guys wearing bow ties. I went and got Ramik a bow tie yesterday, and I got Todd his, and I actually tied them all.
Since everyone's asking you Star Wars questions, I can maybe ask you one. The new movie, are you nervous about it? Are they going to screw it up, or what do you think?
I think Disney's smart enough not to screw it up. I think they'll do a great job. I'm a fan of J.J. Abrams and what he does and his anamorphic shooting. I think they'll do a great job. They have unlimited resources, and they've been able to see all of the negative comments that were made about any Star Wars movie, and I think that they'll listen to those things and they'll correct those mistakes. You can't please everyone, though.
Right here, front row.
10 years from now, are we going to see you at the Oscars, or are we going to see you in a Pro Bowl roster?
Both. I'm gonna try to do both, but when it's time for football, you got to focus on football. But when it is the off season, you got to find something to fill your time with, and I think that doing films is a good way to spend my time rather than doing what some other people do. That's a good one. If you're going to do that, you got to get someone who's legendary, maybe a Denzel Washington or a Leonardo DiCaprio.
We have time for a few more questions. Back to the front.
You have any scripts? You have any scripts for the movies that you want to do?
Yeah, like I said, we're working on a project right now. We won't be shooting the whole thing, but we'll be shooting a trailer so that we can start our Kickstarter campaign so we can fund it. The fundraiser will be going on during the fall, and we'll hopefully be shooting it towards the end of the year. Right now it is a short film script, but we're actually might be developing it into a 90-minute feature.
Hearing all the cheers and stuff downstairs leads me to ask you, is there something that a school, a team does, a chant, a tradition that really bugs you and gets under your skin?
If you've asked that question before, you might get the same answer. Since my freshman year, when we played at Tennessee, the fact that they play Rocky Top every 3 seconds, it has grown on me. It really bugs me, just because someone could tie their shoe and they play Rocky Top. It's tradition at that school, and I understand that. But the song, just the melody or something about it gets stuck in your head, and you will be on the bus home after the game, and you will be singing it in your head, and it takes a good week to get it out of your head.
This morning, South Carolina picked to be the winners of the SEC East here. Does that mean anything to you guys?
Nothing at all. It means nothing to me. Predictions are predictions. The proof is in the pudding. You have to play the games, and you have to win them. And I think there's ample time for those teams to prepare. Georgia is busy preparing right now as we speak. And we can control what we can control, and you'll see the outcome. So rather than predicting one, we'll show you.
Right here.
I guess we could get back to some actual football for a minute before you leave. How has summer ball been? Who's been kind of leading that up, and what have you seen out of the new guys?
Summer's been great. Hudson Mason has taken charge of the team, and he's really stepped up and become the leader that Georgia needs at quarterback. A lot of the new guys, the freshmen, have come in and they've done great in our 7-on-7s and our pass scale. They're picking up the offense and the defense great. They're learning fast, but also they're hungry. They really want to play some football, and they're proud to be at Georgia, and that's something that's important. Some people just go to schools as a stepping stone to go to the next level, but I really feel like these young guys that we had come in, they want to play football at Georgia, and they want to make a difference.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Fantastic. I'd like to see you on TV when your career's over. How's that? In TV or on?